the president of the Gaston Newby Power chapter and our volunteer program there. Paige asked me to come back this year and just do about, I think maybe your program might even say invest in yourself, which is what I did last year. But she said, let's don't do that. Let's do about 25 or 30 minutes of just something about attitude, something really upbeat. Now let me ask, how many of you think you have a really positive, good attitude? Okay, most. The rest of you get your hymn books. We'll sing and you come down and we'll see if we can't change your attitude. I'm always amazed at people who let the slightest thing ruin their day. And I'll hear people say, that just ruined my day. Listen to me, ladies and gentlemen. Nobody ruins your day unless you give them permission to ruin your day. It's an attitude and it is a choice. Listen to this story. A group of graduates, well established in their careers, went to a class reunion and they saw an old professor. He invited them to his home for hot chocolate. He went into the kitchen and came out with a large pot of hot chocolate and an assortment of cups on his tray. Porcelain, glass, crystal, some very plain, some very expensive, some exquisite. And he said, help yourself to hot chocolate. When they all had gotten the cup, he said, I want you to look. The nice, expensive cups were taken first. The plain, cheap cups were left, and everybody else just stared at those who took the more expensive cups. The cup you're drinking from adds absolutely nothing to the quality of the hot chocolate. In most cases, it's just expensive, and it just hides what you're drinking. What you really want in life is hot chocolate, but you consciously went for the best cup. Consider this, life is hot chocolate. Your job, your money, your position in society, those are the cups. They're the tools that contain your life. The cup you have does not define the taste of the hot chocolate or the quality, hooray for Hollywood, or the quality of your life. Sometimes when you concentrate too much on the cup, you miss the hot chocolate. That's attitude. That's attitude. Now, Paige and I had this conversation just before we came in. Here's my philosophy of life. I live it, I breathe it, it works, this works for me. When I wake up every morning, I get to decide what kind of day it's going to be. I get to decide. Now, do people and circumstances impact my day? Yeah. Are there bad days? No. Every day's a good day. Some are just easier than others. But every day when you wake up, you're the one who sets the tone for the day. You're the one who decides what kind of day it's going to be. You make that choice, and I make that choice every day. Here's a list of the things people said. Now, this was national research. These are the things that we say ruin our day. A ring in the bathtub that you did not make. Waiting at a traffic light. A dripping faucet. A husband who channel surfs. Honey, pick one. Just pick one. Someone who talks during a movie. Losing one sock. Here's a good one. Going in a bathroom stall and there is no toilet paper. Someone who's always late. A boring speaker. Whoa. An interruption of your favorite news program, TV program for a news flash. What do you mean there's an emergency flood? Get back, I'm missing Grey's Anatomy. Remember when we were little and there were 3 channels? And if the president was speaking, your night was shocked because he was on all 3 channels. Getting cut off in traffic. We were on our way to the mountains and there was construction going on I-40. Now, my husband says there's construction on I-40 constantly. We don't think there's really construction. We think there's just not a warehouse big enough to hold all the barrels. So they just keep them on I-40. But nobody would let us get in. The lane was ending. Nobody would let us get in. And finally, my husband said, well, I'm just gonna dash for it. Now, I was trying to wave at people behind us to let us in. We cut in real quick, and I looked back, and I said, honey, we're okay. That truck driver's waving at us. And my husband said, I know that, but how many fingers is he using? It It ruins your day if someone takes up 2 parking spaces, screeching chalk on a chalkboard, people who crack their knuckles, telephone solicitors, someone leaving the commode lid up. My point is, these are just things. You cannot let just something so simple ruin your day. Here are the things that I think we need to work on. And I call this how to ruin a perfectly good day. Because every day you wake up, is it a good day? Yes. If you wake up, stay with me. If you wake up, if you're able to get out of the bed, if you can brush your own teeth, comb your own hair, feed yourself, dress yourself, and go somewhere, it is an awesome day. Please don't lose sight of that. But it's an attitude. People who have everything complain. Negative. Do you like to be around negative people? Me either. Joy stealers. How to ruin your day. Just getting out of the bed. My day's shot. I had to get up. Who's a morning person? I don't like getting up early, but once my feet hit the floor, you better get out of the way because I'm coming through, okay? My husband wakes up and he is so precious. He is my best friend. But he gets up in the mornings, usually ahead of me, because he is really, really an early morning person. When I get up, I just want to get my coffee and just sort of ease into the, I'm not in a bad mood, just want to have to ease into it a little bit. I get up and he's like, and it makes me nervous. I left home yesterday. I was in Augusta, Georgia last night because I had a speaking engagement in Augusta this morning. Left there at 11:30 to come up here. When I get home this afternoon, and I've missed him terribly, left him a love note on the pillow last night. I miss him. I don't like to be apart. But by the time I get home, I will have driven, 380, almost 400 miles? I need a minute. Just give me a minute and a glass of Diet caffeine-free Dr. Pepper and let me just kind of collect my thoughts and get, unwound. He'll beat when the garage door goes up. That's not a bad thing. But we'll go like, I was gone for 3 days. When I got home, my husband wanted to hug me first thing. And we think that's a bad thing? No. Are you a morning person, afternoon person? You decide. Husbands and wives, here's what we're ruining today. You can get up and be perfectly fine, but if somebody says one thing that ticks you off, your day's shot. That's a choice. That's a choice. Did you hear about the couple that had an argument? And the man was so mad at his wife, he wouldn't speak to her. He wrote her a note and put it on her pillow when they went to bed that said, get me up at 5 o'clock. I have to catch a flight in the morning at 8. She was mad too. The next morning he woke up, looked at the clock, and it was 9 o'clock a.m. He was furious, and he jumped up, and he looked, and there was a note on his pillow that said, 5 a.m., wake up. Hey, work for her. What can I say? Don't wake up first thing in the morning and decide that it's going to be a bad day. It's not. If you wake up, that's a good sign. Next thing that ruins people's day, their hair. Some of you don't have that problem. I can just tell. But people, you get up and your hair doesn't do right, you're like, my day is shot. My hair looks terrible. Do you ever get up and get ready to go somewhere and you look good and you know it? Who's ever done that? You look in the mirror and you think, I look so good, I'm going to go out and let the whole world look at me today. You feel good. But if you look in the mirror and your hair doesn't do well, you've never done that. You look in the mirror and your hair looks terrible, here's a clue. Call in wherever you volunteer, wherever you work, and just say, I won't be in today. And they'll go, bless your heart. Are you sick? You say, no, but I'm ugly. Not coming in today. I think one of the sweetest things I've ever heard about attitude, ever, I just thought this was awesome. A woman who had cancer and was on chemo, and she was left with 3 strands of hair on her head. All of her beautiful long hair was gone. She had 3 strands of hair. So she got up one morning, looked in the mirror, there were 3 strands of hair, and she said, oh, I think I'll braid my hair today. And she braided her hair. She woke up the next morning and one of those 3 strands had fallen out during the night. And she said, 2 strands. Oh, I think I'll wear pigtails today. So she put ribbons on those 2 hairs. She woke up the next morning and another hair had fallen out. She had one hair left. And she said, I think I'll wear my hair in a ponytail today. And she woke up the next day and that one hair was gone and she was totally bald. And she looked in the mirror and said, thank you, Lord. I don't have to mess with my hair today. That is attitude. That is attitude. Another thing people say is ruins their days, kids. Boy, am I preaching to the choir. How do y'all do it? Seriously, how do you do it? It takes a special person to work with youth. A very special person. My husband's brother just turned 75. He has 4 children, and I don't know how many grandchildren, a house full of kids. But he told my husband, he said, I have a philosophy about kids. And my husband thought he was going to tell him something very serious. And he said, what is it? Because we were going to write it down. He said, when kids turn 13, put them in a box, cut a hole so they can breathe. When they turn 16, plug up the hole. Can I get a witness? And I know there are days, no matter how much you love what you do, there are days when you would just like to plug up the hole. You never know what kids are going to do. You never know what they're going to say. One man told about calling this home, and this little voice answered the phone and said, hello. And the man said, could I speak to your father? He's busy. Oh, okay. Well, let me speak to your mother. She's busy too. Well, do you have any brothers or sisters? Yeah. Could I speak to them? They're busy. And the man said, okay. Is there anyone else in the house? There's a fireman. Could I speak to him? He's busy. Is anyone else at your house? There's a policeman. Let me talk to the policeman. He's busy too. Okay, son, you got a mama, a daddy, you got a fireman, a policeman, a brother. What is everybody doing? They're looking for me. You gotta love working with you, okay? So this little boy runs into the den and says, Grandpa, act like a frog. He said, son, I'm not acting like a frog. Come on, Grandpa, act like a frog. Son, I'm not acting like a frog. Grandpa, it's really important. Why is it so important? He said, I don't really know the details, Grandpa. All I know is I just heard Grandma tell my mom in the kitchen that as soon as Grandpa croaks, we're all going to Disney World. You gotta love it. See, I think we have 4 children and 6 grandchildren. I think grandchildren are God's reward to us for not killing our kids. The next thing that ruins people's day is traffic. What are you going to do about traffic? Really? Can we do anything about it? Should it ruin your day? This was told as a true story, and I'm sure it's not, because I don't know, though. Nowadays, who knows? Things happen. I do a presentation called Living at the Preacher's House, and people say, you're making that up. And I said, you can't make this stuff up, okay? Okay, remind me to tell them about what I just did recently. The story is told, though, about this woman whose car stalled. She was in the middle of rush hour traffic trying to go to work, probably out on I-20 or 77, busy interstate. Anyway, she pulls up to a traffic light intersection. Her car cuts off. And the guy behind her blows the horn constantly. Blew the horn, blew the horn, blew the horn. She tried to start the car, it wouldn't start. She's having a hot flash. I mean, it's just really making her nervous. Okay. And she couldn't get the car started. He kept blowing the horn. And finally, she got out of the car. She walked back there and tapped on the window. She said, excuse me, sir, if you'll be kind enough, if you'll be kind enough to go try to start my car for me, I'll get in your car and blow the horn for you. Some things, y'all, you just can't control. Are any of you stressed? Come on, be honest. Do you feel so overwhelmed that you're thinking, I can't have a good attitude, Glenda. I'm so overwhelmed. When you get really overwhelmed and you don't know where to start, that's a bad feeling, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Have you ever had so much to do and so much on you that you could not concentrate, and therefore you looked at everything before you and you did nothing because you didn't know where to start? Don't know where to start? I just heard the cutest story about this teeny tiny little man who was married to a woman much larger than he was. And one day they're walking downtown holding hands, and she fell down. She tripped and fell down. And the little fella he could not pick his wife up. So he stopped a stranger on the street and he said, sir, can you help me pick my wife up? And the man said, well, sure, I'd be glad to. And the stranger went. And he just kept going in circles, and the husband said, sir, what are you doing? He said, well, I'm not sure where to take hold of her. And the husband said, take hold anywhere. It's all got to come up. You folks are special. I look at what you do. You're a special group of people, but you got to take care of yourself. I woke up this morning in Augusta, Georgia, but when I first woke up, I had no idea what state I was in. I called my husband, I said, baby, where am I today? And he laughed and said, honey, you're in Augusta, Georgia. Little stressed. You know you're stressed. You know that you're going to have a bad attitude and your day's going to go downhill, okay? You know that when you do things you would not ordinarily do. I curl my hair with a curling iron every morning. And you know when you first curl it, you've got all these little hot dog, little wingy rolls on your head. I went to work. And one of my coworkers said, okay, Glenda, either you're starting a new fad or you're a little stressed. And I said, Tracy, what are you talking about? She said, go look in the mirror. And I had not combed my hair out. I went to work one day with my pajama bottoms still under my clothes. And I kept wondering why my skirt felt funny. I wondered, have I gained weight? What's happened? I went to work one day with a silk suit on. And apparently I had gone to the restroom just before going to the office and tucked, my little top piece in the skirt. I got to the parking lot, and normally all the linemen were out in the parking lot and they would wave at me and they'd keep smoking, okay? I'd go in the building. This particular morning, they all spoke and they put their cigarettes out. Boy, they followed me in the building. And I thought, they sure are being friendly today. And I got to the top of the stairs to go into my office, and one of the linemen said, Miss Glenda, you might want to go in the ladies' room and look at the back, get a rear view before you go in your office. From the front, I looked perfectly fine, normal. But from here back, not only was my top tucked in my pantyhose, but so was my skirt. So this view was good. This view was really good, okay? I mentioned that hunk of burning love I live with and how he just can't wait for me to get home, and I can't wait to see him this afternoon. I really can't. But we got to deal with some of the church members tonight, so the day could go either way. Who knows? But I'm just kidding. We've got a dinner tonight. We're fine. But when I go home, we have this routine. We've been married to be 20 years in May. We have a routine that he started when we first got married, and it works for us. Fellas, take a lesson, okay? Every night I get out of the shower, I dry off, I get my Bath and Body Works lotion. I go upstairs in the loft, and my husband puts lotion on me every night, 20 years. So I go upstairs. Now, y'all, at Christmas, let me back up, in December, we got a spotlight in the front flower bed to shine on the front door because the wreath was so pretty and that light just looked beautiful on the door. This happened, Paige, you cannot make this up. And the light was shining on the front door. Well, after Christmas, I put the regular wreath back up, but I said I'm going to keep plugging up the spotlight at night. And Warner said, why would you want to do that? And I said, it just looks pretty on the door. I don't know, it makes me feel, I'm just going to keep plugging up the spotlight. I've had a long day. I'd been to Florence, South Carolina, working all day at Blue Cross Blue Shield that day. I got home about 6:30, 6:45. I took my shower. I got my lotion. I went upstairs. I got my little body rub, relaxed me a little bit, and I came downstairs and I realized the spotlight was not on. I'm naked. Did y'all get that part? I'm naked. I start to the front door, and in my mind, this is not going to be a problem. This is how I knew I was stressed. It won't be a problem. It's dark. Nobody will see me. Stay with me. I'm naked. Did I mention that? And I go on the front porch, and I squat down to get the cord. Still, it has not registered with me. It's dark. Nobody will see me. And I lean down, and I plugged in the light. Y'all, have you ever been so stressed you could not process, even when you did something terribly wrong, you couldn't fix it? This man's going, she did not. I did. It happened. And the light's on, and I could not, for the life of me, process, pull the plug, pull the plug, pull the plug. And so I just was like, he said, why? And I said, you're not going to believe what I just did. And he said, you did not. And I said, no, honey, you did. I did, baby, really. I just plugged the light on, okay? And our neighbors walk. We live with a lot of retired people in our subdivision. Now, he said, you go pack, and I'm going to start calling a realtor because we're going to get thrown out of the home. He told that at our church. And two couples in our neighborhood go to our church. And so now they're walking a lot. They're probably waiting to catch me doing that against somebody's picture. When you're stressed and you let your attitude get out of kilter, you will do things you would not ordinarily do. You will do and say things you wouldn't ordinarily do. Here's one that ruins your day, the mood of other people, really. Have you ever heard me talk about working with negative people? I worked with a woman who absolutely found fault with everything and everybody. She didn't like her job, and here's a clue, y'all. Talk about attitude. If you don't like your job, you don't like the people you work with, you don't like your spouse, you don't like your house, you don't like your neighbors, you don't like your friends, you don't like your church, don't like the preacher, don't like anything or anybody. Hello, could be you. Could be wrong, but usually I'm not. You might be the problem. We let the moods of other people ruin our day. Why would you do that? Why would you give someone that much authority over you and over your attitude? Don't do it. Don't do it. When you walk into wherever you're volunteering, wherever you're working, I would go into my office and say, morning, everybody. This particular person would say, shoot her before that spreads. You got two choices. You got two choices. Let it ruin your day or make the best of it and keep on smiling. Then your health. Your health is important. Attitude is everything. Attitude is everything. Two women that I knew very well, both were friends, both were diagnosed with cancer at the same time. One was told she might live a year. The other one was told she might live 2 months. The one who was told she might die in a year went home, laid down, and died in 3 weeks. Gave up. The one who was told she might live 2 months lived, are you ready? 9 years. Because her attitude was so awesome. When you want to get a bad attitude, every time you think you want to get a bad attitude, think about the woman with the 3 strands of hair. Amen. And then our families, our spouses, you know, we love our spouses, but sometimes we get on each other's nerves. I recently heard of a couple celebrating their 50th anniversary. And this man said to the husband, on your 25th anniversary, I understand you took your wife to Hawaii. He said, I did. He said, what are you going to do for your 50th? He said, thinking about going back to get her. That's why they had such a happy marriage. Let me close with this. And I use this all the time because it speaks to me and I hope it does you. When you think about attitude and when you think about stress and when you think about making choices, I want you to go away with this. I'm a very important woman. Paige didn't tell you that. I am one of the most important women you've ever met. Does anybody in this audience recognize me? Do you know who I am? I'm Glenda Doles. And I'm extremely important. Well, why are you so important? Well, I'm so glad you asked. Because I'm going to tell you. See, I'm important because when I woke up this morning down in Augusta, Georgia, I got to decide what kind of day this was going to be. I got to decide. See, I can complain if it rains this evening, or I can be glad my grass is being watered free. I can complain that I don't have a lot of friends, or I can get busy and network and make a new friendship today. I can complain that when I was growing up, my mom and daddy didn't give me everything I wanted. Or I can be grateful they gave me life, and they brought me up the best they could. See, I can complain that I don't have a lot of money, or I can learn to manage my finances better. I can even complain I had to go to this crazy conference today. Or you can be so thankful you have meaningful work to do. When you wake up, that's why that retiree volunteer program was so awesome. It gave retirees a reason to be reconnected to where they spent all their lives, and then they were reconnected to the company. It was wonderful. See, I can even complain that when I get home this afternoon, I've got to do a little bit of housework, do some laundry, and cook dinner. You know what? That's fine. At least you got a roof over your heads, you got clothes on your back, and you got food in your stomach. You are also some of the most important people I've ever met. Because as you walk out of here this afternoon, I want you to know that the rest of today, and when you wake up tomorrow morning, when you open your eyes tomorrow morning, you remember me. Not that I'm a crazy woman wearing purple, okay? You remember me. And you remember tomorrow morning when you open your eyes that I said to you, you get to decide what kind of day you're going to have tomorrow. You get to decide. Don't you let the traffic, don't you let a bad hair day, don't you let another person ruin your day. You decide when you wake up that it's going to be an absolutely wonderful day. Unless, of course, you have other plans. Thank you. God bless. Be safe. If you like me as a speaker and you want me to come speak at your organization, come by to see me. If you did not like me, please keep your mouth shut.